Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and thanks for joining us today, April 2nd, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feasts and Marian meditations. Well, today we have a number of feasts, as is typical. The first will take our lead from the Abbot Orsini, who tells us that they celebrate Our Lady the Great in Poitiers, France, right? And we're told that this is where is shown an image of the Blessed Virgin, in whose hands the keys of the city were found miraculously, while the mayor's servant was looking everywhere for them in order to open the gates to the English, to whom he had promised to betray the city. Again, what is the connection with April 2nd? It's not entirely clear, but maybe that's when this miraculous event took place, when the mayor's servant tried to betray the people and the city, and it didn't happen. Our Lady looked out for it. Likewise, some sources tell us that they celebrate Nuestra Señora de la Alta Gracia in the Dominican Republic, Our Lady of, sometimes we say Our Lady of Alta Gracia or Our Lady of High Grace. Doing the research, though, I could not figure out exactly why they would celebrate April 2nd. About the best I could come up with was that on April 1st of 1959, Pope John the 23rd established the Diocese of Our Lady of Alta Gracia by means of the papal bull Solemne Est Nobis. But again, that's April 1st and not April 2nd. But in any event, it's always a good day to celebrate Our Lady. Another thing that happened today is the apparition of Saint Mary in Cairo, Egypt, right? Sometimes called Our Lady of Zetoun, right? It was on April 2nd, 1968, that people noticed a white light in the shape of a veiled figure over St. Mary's Coptic Church in the Zetoun district of Cairo. Now, it wasn't just a couple people who noticed this. A lot of people noticed it. In fact, traffic stopped, people got out of their cars, and people shouted, "The Virgin Mary," right? And identification confirmed when the figure turned to kneel before the cross. The church, unlike the main tower, has a cross. Now, for the next 3 years, thousands saw the silent apparition, which lasted up to 9 hours at a time, often accompanied by purple incense and smaller white lights resembling doves. Although the black and white photos available all show a faceless blob, witnesses reported that her features were very clear. Now, it's actually interesting. If you look at images, it does, like pictures that were taken, it's very clear. It looks exactly like our Blessed Mother. You can find pictures online. So both Christians and Muslims, including President Abdul Nasser, watched the various poses and movements of the form above the church, right? But there were other apparitions too, some speaking, some bringing healings, some inside the church, many different ones, right? Now, police and church officials investigated the phenomena and found no evidence of trickery, right? The Orthodox Coptic Church built a new cathedral across the street from St. Mary's. Okay. In any event, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it has some level of approval even within the Catholic Church, but you can find pictures online. That's, it's the St. Mary's apparition, sometimes called Our Lady of Zetoun. We're also told that today they celebrate Notre Dame de Savon in Paris, France. The chapel was blessed in 1674. Likewise, in Jesi Ancona in La Marche in Italy, they celebrate Madonna delle Grazie, Our Lady of Graces. And this is in thanksgiving for being freed from the plague in 1456. Last but not least, too, we also have this very interesting apparition, which is Madonna della Castagna in Borghetto di Vara, La Spezia, Liguria, Italy. The name Madonna della Castagna means Our Lady of the Chestnut. And this refers to an apparition which took place in 1779. It was April 2nd, 1779, when Our Lady appeared to 3 shepherd children near the old church, which had fallen down, right, in the middle of a forest of chestnut trees, right? Tradition says that in some era, right, there was an old street that had kind of fallen into disuse, but a group of monks had built a small church with a little place, like a little hospital next door, right? And so it was this church that had kind of fallen apart, and then Our Lady appeared to these shepherd children near this old fallen apart church, right? There was an image of Our Lady that was lost alongside the chapel when it was destroyed in the flood of 1752, which represented Our Lady seated on a chestnut trunk, right? Recalling her apparition. So again, this is an earlier apparition to this one. So in 1779, she appeared. She had already appeared before. There's this tradition that there was this image recalling her appearing in a chestnut tree. And perhaps that's why the monks had decided to build their little chapel there. And so that's what we're celebrating in the Marian world today, April 2nd. For today's Marian meditation, taken from the book by Father Ildefonso Villar, we continue with meditation 52, entitled Life at Nazareth. And here we'll consider the third point, how long it lasted. This hidden life lasted until the time came for Jesus to go out and preach abroad. And if that need had not come, Mary would have remained in that hidden life all her life. Here is indeed a practical lesson. The Son of God was not in a hurry to quit his hiding place. He will only come into the limelight when obedience and the glory of his Father demand it. Would it not have been better for him to preach, say, for 6, 10, or 15 years, rather than just for 3? How many souls would he have converted? How many things he would have taught to the world? But what was he doing down in Nazareth for such a long time? Was not that squandering of days and years quite at variance with his work of redemption? Does it not seem undignified for the Messiah and Redeemer to spend 30 years apparently doing nothing? What of his mission of redemption? After all, it was for this that he came into the world. And yet the wisdom of God did not think of it this way. God wanted to teach us a supreme lesson of humility. He wanted to teach us how to combat our pride and vanity. Hard is the lesson, and little do we profit by it. For today's reading from the Admirable Heart of Mary by St. John Eudes, we continue with Part 7. And in this first chapter of Part 7, we're concerned with the testimony of the Fathers and ascetical writers regarding the Admirable Heart of Mary. And today, in particular, we're going to consider what Franciscans have said, those who follow the Order of St. Francis. The Order of St. Francis has always counted sons outstanding for their writings and sermons on the doctrine of Mary's Immaculate Conception. Among these sons, St. Bonaventure was most prominent for the fervor of his devotion to the Queen of Heaven. His special love for Mary is shown in the Psalter composed in her honor, containing 150 psalms modeled on the Psalms of David, in one of which he calls the heart of Mary the source of salvation, omnis salus decori Mariae scaturizat. St. Bonaventure, in other treatises on the devotion to Mary, portrays the sibyllic pictures of her august heart. In his commentary on the second chapter of St. Luke, he calls Mary's heart the Ark of the Covenant. As the Ark contained a portion of the manna which God sent down from heaven, so the heart of the Saviour's mother kept all the mysteries of her divine Son, all the words of life and the sacred truths that he brought down from heaven, to be the sweet and precious manna of our souls. Saint Bernardine of Siena was another son of the seraphic Saint Francis. So ardent and tender was Saint Bernardine's devotion to the Mother of God and to her amiable heart that it is difficult to find his equal. In a sermon on Mary's Immaculate Conception, Saint Bernardine shows the wonders of Our Lady's admirable heart, which will be an object of rapture for all the denizens of heaven. One marvel of the heart of Mary is that it is the focus of a mirror towards which all the rays of the sun converge. In this mirror he sees a fire so ardent that it inflames everything placed in front of it. Similarly, says the saint, all the vehement desires of all the hearts of patriarchs, prophets, and all the other saints of the Old Testament concerning the coming of the Redeemer, united in the holy heart of Mary as in their center, kindle therein such ardent desires that no mind can conceive them and no words express them.
Hello, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to our Marian podcast. In the spirit of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, we say to you that there is no greater delight than to spread the devotion of Our Lady. We hope you share these sentiments and encourage you greatly to share with a loved one. Know that you are always in our prayers, and we ask that you keep us in yours. God bless.